Hey, welcome to Random Things with BK. Today we're going to go over the basics of how to check the fluids in your vehicle. We'll walk through how to check your oil, your coolant, and your brake fluid. So if you would, come on over, and first thing I'm going to show you is inside the truck. Most new vehicles have in the vehicle hood release. So on my truck, it's right here, and it even says hood on it. Now, all vehicles won't be that obvious, but the release will always be somewhere in this area. So I'm going to pull that latch, and now it's released the hood. We're going to go over. Now, while we're walking over here, one thing to note is it's always good to check these particular fluids when the vehicle is cold, not when it's hot. Also, I want to point out that most vehicles will also have a secondary hood latch that will be somewhere in the middle of the bottom of the hood. Another thing to point out is that some cars will have these shocks to hold the hood up. Others will just have a rod up here that you'll pull down and plug into the front of the car. And it usually is pretty obvious where you do that. Now, we're going to start off with the engine oil, which will be the first thing that we're going to check. And almost all newer cars will have probably a yellow handle and it'll say oil on it. I'm going to pull up on what they call a dipstick, and you're looking at on the dipstick, you're going to look at your oil level. And usually most dipsticks will have, you can see the oil's on there, and they will have a zone that will be checkered like this, or they'll have dots punched out. And you can see that my truck is actually low on oil. And so I need to add some and get it up into this safe zone right here. So what I would do next if I were going to put oil in is I'd wipe this off with a napkin. And then I would set it to the side and I'll add my oil. To do that, I'm going to open up the engine oil cap. Now, different vehicles will have that cap in different places, but generally, again, it will say engine oil. And if it's a newer vehicle, probably in the 90s and up, a lot of times it will tell you what kind of oil that your vehicle takes right on the cap. Like mine takes 5W20. So, we're not going to add the oil right this second, but if I were going to do that, that's what I would do. Once you add some oil, you're going to put your dipstick back in all the way down until it bottoms out, and then you would pull it back out and check it again and until you get it up into that safe zone. And that's how you do it. So moving on to the coolant. If you come over here, you can see that I have a coolant bottle, and most of these most newer vehicles have this system, a coolant bottle. You also have a radiator cap. Now, one thing to note, the reason that they went to these external coolant bottles is that these radiator caps become pressurized as the radiator fluid gets hot. So you would never want to take this cap off while your vehicle is warm, because when you do, hot antifreeze is going to volcano out of this thing and you'll be in trouble. If you'll come around here, you can see on my truck the full level is right here, this line right here. It says that most vehicles will have that line marked, and you want your coolant to be right at that when the vehicle is cold. And so to put it in, I just open this cap, pour it in, close the cap, make sure my level's good, we're all good. If you're working with an older car, then you would take this cap off here and you would check to make sure that it's full up to the top right there, if you don't have your external coolant bottle. But like I said, all newer cars have that. So that covers your coolant. Now, different cars take different coolant, so it's worth Googling real quick to see what coolant that your car takes before you go to the auto parts store, such as AutoZone, Advanced Auto. Walmart carries coolant to get more coolant to put in. It's not advisable to put water in your vehicle, especially if you live in a cold climate, because the water can freeze, and if it freezes, then it will ruin your engine. Okay, now we're going to move over here to the brake fluid. Now, a lot of people are in tune to oil and coolant, but a lot of people don't think to check their brake fluid. And usually this is going to be dirty because it's the inside of your engine compartment. But on almost every brake reservoir, and you'll know it's your brake reservoir because generally it's going to be right in this area, almost on all vehicles. And again, it'll have a yellow top, but it also says usually on the reservoir, brake fluid, okay? It will have usually a minimum level, which you can see down here, min, and a maximum level, which is up here. So you can see mine's right at the maximum. If you're looking, you can see the fluid in the background there, okay? So you want to make sure that your brake fluid is full, and you really don't want to overflow it because it can create extra pressure. So those are the three main fluids in your vehicle that are very important for you to check. One other one that I didn't think about, but is a good one to keep an eye on, is your power steering fluid. And I'll go ahead and show you that while we're talking in this video. Now, this could be in different places, but generally it's in this area on your motor, driver's side, front of the motor, okay? And usually to check it, you're going to turn the top and you're going to pull it off, and it's just like the oil where it has a dipstick and it'll say add or full, okay? And you just, again, wipe it off, add your fluid if you need to, put your cap back on, screw it tight, and then do the reverse to check it again and make sure your level's good. And if your level's good, then you're good to go. So, put it back in. One thing you want to make sure is anytime you check your fluids, you want to double check to make sure that you've replaced all of the caps and that they're all tight. I hope this was helpful. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments. And I hope you have a wonderful day. If it was helpful, like and subscribe.